On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched a massive, coordinated military assault on major Iranian cities. Operating under the codenames Operation Epic Fury and Operation Roaring Lion, the strikes assassinated dozens of senior Iranian officials and sank a sovereign naval vessel. The official explanation coming out of Washington and London framed the attack as a necessary defense of the rules-based international order to prevent nuclear proliferation. But we have to ask how two nuclear-armed powers bombarding a recognized United Nations member state actually aligns with protecting global security. This diagram shows the imbalance in nuclear oversight. On the left, Iran, a non-proliferation treaty signatory, has repeatedly submitted to international inspections. Israel, conversely, operates outside the treaty, possessing an undeclared arsenal of 90 warheads without permitting a single inspection. The contradiction reveals how the rules-based order operates in practice. It enforces one strict set of rules for developing nations and grants total impunity to allied powers. Because the stated concerns about weapons inspections are mathematically inconsistent, we have to look at the physical reality on the ground. The true motive points directly to the control of material resources. In 1953, the CIA and MI6 orchestrated a coup against Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. The explicit goal was to reverse his nationalization of Iranian oil and restore profits to Western energy companies. 26 years later, the 1979 revolution severed those ties again. The new government removed the country's vast petrochemical wealth from foreign control, an act that triggered decades of hostility from Washington. This flowchart visualizes the mechanics of monopoly capitalism. Monopoly capitalism is an economic system where massive, concentrative corporate entities must physically expand across borders, forcing open independent nations to secure new raw materials, cheap labor, and markets. The 2026 bombardment is the direct continuation of a 70-year campaign designed to force the privatization of Iran's nationalized industries. Long before the first missiles fell, a different kind of physical siege was already underway. Economic sanctions function as active warfare, specifically engineered to physically cut off a population from basic material survival. This chart tracks the value of the Iranian rial. By severing the country from the global banking system, foreign powers collapsed the currency's value by 90% since 2018, driving inflation to nearly 60%. The numbers translate directly into severe pharmaceutical shortages, collapsed wages, and widespread food insecurity for tens of millions of people. The tactical playbook is entirely deliberate. The goal is to strangle the economy to generate mass desperation, wait for protests to erupt over the worsening conditions, and then point to that suffering as a moral justification for foreign intervention. The intentional impoverishment of a society physically degrades its industrial capacity. It is a calculated method to force total capitulation to foreign economic demands. Regionally, Iran has served as a material bulwark. By supporting allied forces from the Levant to Yemen, it actively disrupted foreign supply chains and checked the expansion of external military bases. This map highlights the conflict's geography. Israel functions as an outpost policing the region to protect resource extraction. A systematic clearing operation then took place. The 2024 fall of Syria, followed by the degradation of resistance forces in Lebanon and Yemen, completely isolated Tehran. The class interests driving this strategy become obvious when you look at the personnel involved. Using lead negotiators who hold direct, personal financial stakes in Gulf real estate and regional normalization deals exposes the profit motives behind the diplomacy. The full-scale bombardment of Iran was only authorized after every regional, physical barrier to foreign control had been dismantled. We have to ask what the average worker in the United States or Britain actually gains from bombing Iranian cities. The answer is nothing. Instead, they absorb the costs. Instability in the Middle East immediately spikes global energy prices, while the domestic state becomes further militarized and civil liberties are eroded under the guise of national security. This visualization shows exactly where that wealth goes. While the broader public absorbs the financial shock, public funds are funneled directly into the highly profitable nodes of arms manufacturing and global finance. Working people are forced to subsidize overseas military operations so that finance capital, the massive integration of banking and industrial monopolies, can continue extracting wealth. Securing a genuine peace requires concrete actions, the immediate lifting of all unilateral economic blockades, and the total withdrawal of foreign military hardware from the region. It also requires us to actively reject the manufactured narratives that use the language of human rights and identity politics to mask physical resource theft. The core duty of anti-imperialism, the organized opposition to the violent expansion of monopoly capitalism, means unconditionally opposing the war machinery and economic warfare of your own ruling class.